Hooty hoo! Hello, all. Welcome to episode 87. All right, guys. So we're here with another guest. It's kind of weird to see like the evolution of how I get my guests because it kind of went full circle. I first started just people that I knew, and then it went to Facebook groups. Then it went from like Instagram and that website Podmatch and other little sites and here and there. And then now we're back to Facebook groups. I put out a post recently just trying to, trying to find people and on Instagram as well. And, a bunch of people reached out and said they wanted to be on. And I found a bunch of people, but this is our first. So why don't you, introduce yourself and, tell a little bit about yourself.
Right. My name is Melissa Schroeder. I am a current title holder for the state of Nebraska as U.S. American Miss Nebraska, and I have both Ehlers, danlos, and POTS, along with a couple other disabilities and illnesses that go along with these things. I've done a lot as far as my entire life where it came to trying to speak up for those with disabilities. Before I even knew I had one myself, I was working with a local organization called CRCC and really speaking up and helping those disabled children who are with this organization experience things that our society doesn't believe that we are capable of doing. And one of my most proud accomplishments would have been putting together a field day for these kids, because when you think of people with disabilities, our society for some reason automatically thinks, oh, well, that means you're disabled, you're in a wheelchair and you can't move, you have no ability whatsoever. Right. And while sometimes that may be the case, as it is with my grandmother, there are so many different types of disabilities out there. And just because your version of in your head of what is disabled doesn't mean that it's the only thing. And just because someone is disabled doesn't mean that they are completely unable. We all have abilities, whether it be something small or large. We can all accomplish great things. All we have to do is set our mind to it. We are no different than anyone else just because we may think differently or be physically differently.
Right. I think some of the things that we struggle with is what is an accomplishment, because we get to a point where we look at other people's accomplishments, able bodies, whatever term you want to use for them, and we look at what they can accomplish and we go, well, I can't, in my case, like for visually impaired, I can't drive. So I'm like, well, I can't do that. But now if I could, that would be an accomplishment. But that's one of my few limitations I cannot do. So then I get to my actual, like what I accomplished. And then you think of everything I've been through. And, I know you don't know a whole bunch about my story, but all the things I've been through. And then it's like, well, now I have my own place. I work, obviously I have time to do this. And I do a lot of advocating and do all these great things. Those are accomplishments. But then telling a person who has, is an able body, who has, perfect sight and can walk and all that, and you tell them, hey, I got a job. It's like, well, so do I. So does my son. So does my wife. It's like, it's not an accomplishment to them. So sometimes we kind of get stuck in this, what is an accomplishment for us, because we're so compared to them, and we do it ourselves a lot of times. But yeah, so that's always been a big, variable that's kind of gotten in the way. But that's where we kind of have to come in and just kind of figure this out.
I started looking at it as, an able-bodied person can have depression, they can have anxiety, and small accomplishments like getting out of bed can be huge for a person with depression. So as a person with a disability, for me, being able to type a small sentence is a big accomplishment, whereas an able-bodied person can type all day with no limitation.
Right. Yeah. I mean, again, I don't know where you sit on it, but to me, mental health is a disability.
Exactly. Yeah.
I have it. I'm sure every disability, every person has it. It's just the amount of it, but every person with a disability definitely has. We've questioned many things, whether you believe in God, you wonder why you've been cursed, or, why, whatever it is, we've gone down the rabbit hole of wanting to live and all that. But mental health to me, all the literal senses of, let's say, like paralyzed, like a term like paralyzing. People are literally paralyzed, but you can be mentally paralyzed through mental health. And like you said, getting out of bed is a challenge. And I've dealt with that many times, and I've wasted a lot of time just laying in bed, not wanting to get out of bed.
Having been depressed myself because of not getting answers, not understanding what's going on with my body, and doctors not being able to find anything. It was stressful. I was going through so many things, anxiety, depression, questioning whether or not I did want to be here, why I was going through everything. And having been through that and seeing other people go through it just makes me realize how big of an issue it is, and how we could come together, whether it be with support groups, a podcast, or just speaking to one another and showing, whether it be through social media or through your everyday life, that it's not the end of the world. Yes, it may seem bleak right now, but there is good out there. There is light, and all you have to do is look and you will find it.
Yeah. One of the things that I know who I am, and I know some of the people around me who have disabilities and stuff, but it's one of the things that I've picked up on just doing this and, just living 32 years of life. I've noticed that a lot of the people, people with disabilities, the ones that you would be quote unquote broken, are the ones that are always trying to help and fix things. And that to me is very beautiful, because it's like a lot of times, and I've done it many times where I take so much time for other people, disabled or not, just people in my life, and I forget about myself. And it's not to make myself look good, but I know a lot of people like that. And it's something that's kind of not talked about, at least not enough, within our community or even outside the community, because we really somehow keep it together for ourselves so we can keep it together for other people. And that kind of stress is like in all, like, even though I have it, I don't think of it. I, for some reason, don't ever give myself enough credit. But when I look at other people do it, I go like, God damn, that's so damn good, and it's so like powerful and positive. And it's like I don't know how that's not something that's like talked about.
I feel like the people who have had the hardest lives, they've gone through the most stuff, are the people who are most willing to give to other people, because they have that empathy, they have that compassion and caring, because they've seen themselves go through it, they've witnessed it, and they don't want to see someone else suffer the way they did.
Yeah. And I think each person with a disability, like, there's something about it that we all should have. Like I've said, even with people with like special needs, some of them, and not in a demeaning way, like they're so simple and they're so basic in what they need in life, like love and care and just some gratitude and just some feedback that, hey, I did well. And that's all they really need in life. They don't really need anything else. They don't need iPads and the latest video game and going to whatever restaurant and all. They just need basic things. And
yep.
And it's kind of like when you're as a kid too, and you just kind of we get past that, and it's like, nah, now I need all this stuff. It's like I have this, and then you see someone else has it, and you go, or something else that you deem better than what you have. You go, well, I need that now. And I think each disability, like like with empathy is something a lot of us have. And one of the things I've said, like with the visually impaired, like we see more than a lot of people, and the irony of that is we don't see much at all, if any. And I think each disability can they have their own little part to that, where it's like, we appreciate life more, even though life for a lot of us suck, or at least sucks and depending on what your disability and what you're going through. But, I don't know. Like I said, that's the powerful things that I've come to, like, when we're talking about this, like Disability Pride Month and all that, like, to be proudful of having a disability, like, it's never something that ever crossed my mind until recently.
I feel like it's not necessarily being proud of said disability, but to be proud that you are who you are. There's nothing that can change it. And just being proud of yourself and your accomplishments and how much that you've given and been through.
Right.
Being proud that you've come this far.
Absolutely. Before we continue this conversation, can we just do a little background of like your disability, what it entails, how it affects you and all that?
Of course. So with I have Ehlers-Danlos, and with Ehlers-Danlos there are many different types. I have not been tested as to which type I have, as problems with insurance. It's not necessary, therefore they will not cover it, and the test costs way too much money. out of pocket. But my general understanding of what my type is I have the hyperflexibility. I have the joints that fall out. I have the blood pressure that can't like regulate itself. My blood can't reach my head, so I'll end up passing out or going blind. I have constant dislocations, so I may be in a wheelchair or on crutches or in a boot or something one day, and the next day be perfectly fine. I have constant like breaks in my feet because my ligaments aren't strong enough to keep my arch. So my foot will fall and it'll fracture itself. So I've been through so many things where the doctors have been like, oh, she's faking it. She just wants attention. She's here because she wants pain meds, which I don't take anyway because they don't help. Where I just felt like no matter what I went through, I was told that I just wanted attention. I was faking something, and it made me question, do I deserve any of the help I'm getting? Why am I here? If I'm not going through anything and it's apparently all in my head, then why is this happening to me? Because living it is differently than seeing someone go through it and questioning what they're going through. I truly believe that even as a child, if someone says my foot hurts, you should take it seriously, even if you do, for some reason, in the back of your mind think, well, maybe they just want attention. I remember the first time my foot broke, that I had been complaining about it for a while, but I could still walk fairly normal on it if I just put the pressure elsewhere. And x-rays showed it was truly broken. And I remember a physical therapist telling me that I just wanted attention and I was faking it because I could walk on it without limping. But as someone who felt pain a little bit differently than others, I understood that, yes, it's broken. X-ray shows it's broken. And just because you would be limping on it doesn't mean that I have to limp on it because it's different for me. People experience things so differently than others, and to put something on a scale of you're fine versus my fine
Right.
is absolutely ridiculous.
Right. Well, like one of the things we were talking about earlier, just about how, I said that I would like to cover all these different disabilities, but I would also like to delve back into multiple different, back into the deaf community and whatever. If I covered a disability, doesn't mean I don't want to cover it again. And because, like what you were just saying, is that, everybody's story is different. Like, you can have the same condition, but it doesn't mean that it affects you the same way as whoever else. And your life is different. Things are just gonna be so much different. And then and there's people out there, unfortunately, that, as you were saying, like there's a lot of people that do take advantage of just basic, going to the hospital and just being taken care of for whatever problem. I've had that where I've had panic attacks and all that, and then they want to take blood tests and all that because it runs up my insurance bill. Because just so they can prove that I'm not an alcoholic or, a drug addict. And there's a lot of people that just simply take advantage of just, like I said, basic needs that people need to get taken care of for their whatever's ailing them. And it sucks for someone who actually is suffering, and you got doctors telling you, it's not a real thing.
Yep, it took me, I've gone through this my entire life, and I think I was 21 years old when I finally got diagnosed. And that was of years and years of tests and surgeries and studies and being told that I wanted attention and I was faking it. And then when I finally got that answer of what is going on with me, it was such a big relief and a validation of I'm not crazy. This is a real thing. And then to come out of that and going through college, it was utterly ridiculous trying to get myself accommodation and the help I needed to get through college, because I was told once again there that it was fake and the doctors were crazy making stuff up to help me not do the work because I was lazy. I had my second college completely even refused to let me use my handicap pass because they deemed it unnecessary because I wasn't in a wheelchair. Which, I mean, anyone with a disability knows that is actually very illegal. So luckily my lawyers were able to help with that. But seeing and hearing from all my support groups that other people have gone through the same thing just made me realize how hard it is for those with disabilities. Some of us get lucky, but others, they're stuck. They get into these places where they just feel helpless. And every single time they try, they're just denied and the door is shut. And you get into that place inside your head going, why am I even trying?
Right.
I finally graduated. I was given the option, because it was during COVID, of walking and getting my diploma on stage or just letting them mail it to me.
Right.
And thinking back to all the struggle I went through, every single professor who denied my accommodations, the accommodations department themselves tell me they weren't equipped for someone with my disability, and then refusing to accommodate me at all, them refusing my handicap pass, and just the bullying and the harassment from fellow students.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, if I just let this go and let it send to the mail, it kind of felt like it was going to undermine my accomplishment.
Yeah.
And there was no better feeling than walking across that stage with a huge smile on my face that despite all of the hardships, every single obstacle that was in my way, I did this. Because to a normal person, yes, graduating is a huge accomplishment. You've gone through so much to get there, and college is one of the most stressful times in a person's life.
Yeah.
But when you're being told at every single corner that you're not good enough, you're less than human, having gone through that and passed made that accomplishment all the more worthwhile, all the more exciting, and grateful that I did do it.
Yeah.
Because it was worth it, and I did it. And other people deserve that too.
I don't know how you feel, but I mean, it's a lot of times how I feel, just coming in contact with people and just how they feel with having a disability. But I feel like a lot of times the disability itself isn't the hard part. No matter what it is, it's usually the barriers and the people and the, the bullying and the mental health and all the things that come with having a disability. It's not the physical part of it. It's all the other shit. It's everything that makes life harder for us.
I can't tell you how many times I decided I'm going to use my handicap pass today because I'm not feeling up to it. So walking across a huge parking lot into a store where I'm going to be in there for an hour getting groceries and I can barely stand up. But it's not bad enough that I need support from it, from whether the crutches or a wheelchair. I'm just going to go in and go out, use the closer parking. That way it's not as much of a hassle carrying the bag. And I've been chased out of the store and had people banging on my car windows telling me, how dare I fake a disability? How dare I use that spot? And when in reality, I needed to. There was no way I was going to get in and out of that store with my groceries without using it. And the people see that I don't look disabled in their eyes, so therefore they're going to harass me about it. I've been chased out of businesses for having my service dog because I don't look like I would need one. I've had organizations that I was working with call me and say that if I'm going to bring a dog there, I need to let the owner know before because it's causing problems.
Right.
And federally, and for most, and even with most state laws, that is called harassment, and they are not allowed to ask more than 2 questions about the service dog being let in. Is this service dog needed for a disability, and what is one task that this dog has been trained to do? They are not allowed to turn you away. They're not allowed to harass you about it. That is all illegal, and they can get fined for it. It's not jail time.
Yeah. This is like a recurring thing, too, with a lot of people with disabilities, whether it's the dog. I just had a friend of mine who I just met and had on here. He has muscular dystrophy, and he rides a Segway to get around because he can't really stand for too long. And he wanted to go into an aquarium, and they told him no. And no matter how much proof he showed, they still denied him access. So he put out a form, getting a bunch of people to sign it so that, they can fight this.
Exactly.
It's a recurring thing. It doesn't matter what your disability is. If it's something that just kind of disrupts their lives, and this isn't a battle between people with disabilities and not. It's just shitty people at the top of these places, and they don't, they just don't care.
No one, they had it affect them personally or someone they know, therefore it's not a real problem.
Yeah, and if it causes them if they have to do any extra work, or it costs them a little money, like anything financial, it always gets in the way. But most of this stuff, when it comes to us, it's just like, just let us in the building with what we brought in. It's we're not looking for extra.
Let us go about our lives, because if I got stopped in the airport one time because I had an inhaler in my purse. I have asthma.
Okay.
I need that.
Right.
And they're like, well, we're going to have to throw this away. And I said, that is a medical device. It's for my asthma. If I have an asthma attack on that plane, I could die if I don't have the rescue inhaler. You cannot throw that away. And luckily for me, another person who was a TSA agent came over and stopped them and explained to them that that is not okay. She needs that inhaler. And I was able to get through. But at the time, I was terrified, because for me, that's life or death. For them, it's just something wrong going on their day.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, those are the kind of things around the corner you just don't see coming, and that's the stuff that makes life so much harder, because it's just like, look, man, it's bad enough I have to tell everybody, yeah, I got asthma, and hey, I got this condition, and yes, I walk funny, or I see funny, or I do this, I do that, and it's like, I draw enough attention to myself without speaking, and now you want me to just bring more to it.
Other thing.
Yeah, now you want me to announce it to an entire airport. And I have to fight for this, and it's like, I just want to go on with my day. I don't want to fight anybody. I don't want to argue. I just want to live my life. It's already, I'm sure it was already an effort to just get through the airport with no struggle, and and just get in there and get searched and do whatever, go through the metal detectors and take your luggage and fly off. That's all you wanted to do. But at the end of the day, someone just has to disrupt your day because you disrupted theirs. And even though it should have never, it was just one little instrument of use for you that clearly would save your life, but God forbid, what is it, a bomb?
Or even the little things, like on my last trip for my last national pageant, I was going through a lot that week, and pageants are stressful. And so, of course, my joints are going to wreak havoc on my body. So I set it up with the airports that I would be in a wheelchair the entire time, because it wasn't worth the damage on my hips trying to carry all my luggage and running across an airport. And when I was getting off my second plane, the attendant came up to me and said, we have the wheelchair outside whenever you feel up to getting up, because they'll help you up. They'll get you to your wheelchair and get you going. And one of the men in front of me had the audacity to turn around and say, she's not allowed off this plane. She has to be the last one off this plane. First one on, last one off. She can't move until everyone else has gotten off the plane. That's not how it works. I've had wheelchairs in the airport hundreds of times. I travel a lot. And for him to have the audacity to start speaking down at me and telling me that because I have a disability that I have to wait and miss my next flight, it was, first of all, it was shocking that someone would have the audacity to turn around and start talking down to another person like that. But with the attendants and everyone there and the entire flight being stopped and being yelled at by this person on the plane with everyone looking, it was embarrassing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's the attention you don't seek. You don't need it. It's just get on the plane and you get off. Simple.
Yeah, I wanted on and off. I wanted to get to my next flight, and it wasn't necessary. It wasn't needed, and it made me feel embarrassed and awful, because how dare I need a little extra help to get on and off a plane when my legs aren't working correctly.
Yeah, and that's where the mental health stuff comes in, because then now you're internalizing it and taking it out on yourself, because you don't want to cause any more problems, because you literally caused a problem for doing absolutely nothing. And now if you speak up, it's going to cause more. So now it's like, oh, screw me now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it sucks. But again, that's kind of how advocates and people who push back and try to change more, because there's a lot of us that have to take the brunt of the weight that life is given to us, so that we can make, we do this so other people don't have to. Like it's not easy. We put ourselves out there. We have to admit that we have a disability. We have to, because when certain labels get on you in this world, it could be a wrap for you. I'm not saying the disability one isn't necessarily you're just done, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not like if someone's called a racist or something like that, but when you say I have a disability, people look at you totally different. People either baby you or they, some people are great about it. And then there's some people that just, act like it's not a big deal.
Or they start talking to you like you are a child.
Yeah, it's the child.
I'm a grown woman. I'm an adult. You don't have to talk to me like I'm two. Just because I have a disability doesn't mean that you have to talk to me like I'm a kid.
Yeah, it all goes like I think every person with a disability, no matter what they have, they've been treated like they have some sort of special needs, and it makes no sense. And I don't even think people with special needs need to be treated like that either. But it's like we're all slow, and it's like I don't understand. I have an eye condition. How does that make me slow? Yes, I look close at my phone. I understand that's just something weird to you because you don't need to, and be happy that you don't. But I don't see how that makes me slow. Like I'm not chewing on the phone. I don't know what's going on here, but yeah, people just. It's just basic common sense, and I get it. We're in the shoes of the people that are going through the struggle, so it's obvious to us. But, like, there are things that are very obvious that I just look around and I go, like, okay, that makes sense. That doesn't, whatever. But most people
I just feel like there's a way to react to a situation, and because other people aren't put into our shoes, they haven't walked that mile, they don't understand it. And I feel like the more open that as advocates can be about that and really sharing our everyday lives and the things we go through, the more understanding other people can be. Because even though they're not going through it themselves, letting them know and like showing it, whether it be through YouTube or podcasts or TikTok, you're letting them know that everything you're going through is real. And just because it may take a little extra time out of their day doesn't mean that our day should have to stop for them. Or we're not trying to cause the problems that you see we're trying to cause. We don't want to cause a scene any more than they do. Right. It's just we need a little bit of help or something may be going wrong. And a little bit of compassion can go a long way.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of change that needs to be had. And like I always talk about the job market, 75% of us being unemployed. It's like, and look, that's not all the situation of all the things that have been built around us that we have yet to overcome. There's a lot of us that don't want to work. There are the people that want to sit around and collect disability, and that's them. I've talked to somebody who said, why are you working? I make okay money and I don't work. It's like, well, that's you. Like, I don't want to do that. We're already a statistic in that way. I don't need that. I want to work. I want to, podcast is becoming a second job.
Take care of myself. I don't have to rely on government or anyone else because I should be able to. I should have that right to be able to buy my own coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to rely on someone else to do that.
Yeah.
If I want that choice, I should be able to make it for myself.
Yeah. And I think there's just a lot. I mean, again, we were talking about just how we don't support each other enough. Like, there's a huge part in our problem where we don't really address enough of the issues that affect us. It's like there's people that overcome every day and they don't, it's just like things are just normal to them. Like, yeah, it's okay. This is this way. It's like, but it's not. Like, because if 75% of the black community was unemployed, we would hear about it. 75% of the gay community was unemployed, we would hear about it. 75% of women or men or anything, we would hear about it. But,
with that, just shoved under our rug.
Yeah, but for us, it's like, well, people, well, you got Social Security and disability. And, okay, I get $800 a month, thanks. What does that do? That pays my rent.
I'm not allowed to have over $2,000 with disabilities. I can't have a house. I can't have a car. Yeah. In fact, with the prices of phones nowadays, we're not going to be able to own a cell phone.
Yeah.
Unless they change the way that regular disability works, at least for my state.
Yeah, cell phones are like $1,200 now. So it's, yeah, like I said, these issues are they're right in front of all of us. And there's a lot of people that fought for us and how the ADA became formed and all that. Like, the way this stuff happened is people really fought for us. And I don't think a lot of us have picked up the as I've said many times, the baton and just are pushing more issues. There's people doing it, but not enough. Like, and there's not like a joint. Like it seems to be like small pockets of it, and a lot of it's like people only sticking. One of the things I ran into with doing this is when I started delving into try to find other people with disabilities doing podcasting, because it's how you kind of you work and you figure out how to get a bigger audience and all that. And I wanted to see what other podcasts, because I've been on other shows and I've gotten people who had shows, and I realized like the visually impaired or blind ones, they would only delve into that part of their community. And then I'd look at other people with disabilities and they would kind of stay with their disability. And it's like, yeah, but
we should all be working together versus separately, because working as a group as a whole is going to get a lot more done versus 10 small groups doing something completely different.
Right.
If we would just support each other, we could make more happen.
Right. Well, now what I've seen, and I've talked about this before, but I've seen like on Instagram and just some of these social media platforms where now, like, I've seen like a group of like black women saying like, we want more inclusion in the disability community for black women. I'm like, when you look, I understand that, and that there's nothing wrong with that, but when you do that, you're stretching us thinner than we already are. When you break it down to women and black, and you're not doing women as a whole, and you're taking out men, you're taking all these different variables. And besides, once you do that, now men are going to want it, or gay people are going to want it, or Asians, or all these different things. And now it's like we're at the point where we're already blind, deaf, amputees, and so on. How in the hell are we going to stick together when we're now breaking it down to color and gender? Because it's thinner than, again, we have 1.6 billion, but divide and conquer has worked on our community very easily. So just separate us more and more, and it and that's how it's like, that's how the voices become just more silent, because
exactly, the more you divide, the less voice you're going to have. A group that sticks together and works together is going to have more power than if you keep splitting it up into smaller and smaller groups. Yes, one person can make a difference. However, 10 people is going to be a lot more than just the one.
Right. Yeah. You suppress the noise. Like if you continue to just, make the, small in the groups, like we're smaller as it is. Like I said, we're so few of us fighting that, there's just, like I said, you continue to just take little pieces off. It's like Jenga. But except it never falls. It just continues to just go down. And you just keep pulling the pieces and and then it's just a point where it's just there's like three people in a room going, hey, we won't take this anymore. And it's like, that's cute. That's adorable. But that ain't happening. We ain't listening to 10 of you.
Yeah.
Like, whoop-dee, 10 of you. Can we just throw you a couple $100? Will you shut up? Like, at the end of the day, like, who cares? Like, you want to fight for, like I said, I've always said this, like if you don't agree with everything with Black Lives Matter and Me Too and all these different groups, that's fine. You don't have to agree with them, but they get shit done. They fight for things. Again, some of them are very corrupt and they do a lot of bad things as well, but they go out and they get shit done. And companies don't want to hear from them. They don't want to hear the LGBT community, their leaders is on the phone. They don't want to hear that, because all of a sudden somebody's going to get fired and somebody's going to get thrown under the bus, because God forbid they get a call from them. It's a problem. So, but if they get some leader, some disability leader, it's like, oh, okay, we can handle this, because, they don't want the press, but it's not as bad as if, the Black Lives Matter community, Black Lives Matter is calling them on the phone, because like I said, they get shit done. We don't. Not enough. I mean, we've gotten things done in the past. Just, in the last 30, 40 years, we haven't.
I truly believe it's because of all of the separation and people not standing up and helping each other, or not being supportive. And if we would just have a little bit more support in each other, maybe we could grow.
Right. So talk a little bit about your pageants and how you do all that.
So I actually got into pageantry because I wanted to get more involved in my community. and not just the disabled community, but my community in general, because there's so many different people out there that could use a voice, and not just people, but like animals too. Like I talked about with the service animals, because they were doing a job. With pageants, I've been able to get involved. I've been able to accomplish so much more because of learning how to advocate for myself, how to speak to a crowd, how to get involved and talk to my senators and all the lawmakers and get things changed and learn how to create these petitions to get the change. I've been able to be on podcasts and news stations and give speeches to large crowds and just get other people that inspiration to get involved. And with getting these titles and these opportunities, I have realized that there are so many people out there that are just waiting for that inspiration, or they want to do something, but they just don't know how. And I was that person where I didn't know how until I was invited to do these pageants. And I realized that I wasn't alone, that there were so many other girls, even just within pageants, that they were disabled. They were the ones with the chronic illnesses. They were the ones that were fighting for a better life. And they were just being told, well, it must be nice to go on stage and look pretty. But it was so much more than that. They had a platform. They had all these different opportunities to speak out to help other people. And they were being looked at like, oh, it must be nice to play Barbie for the day. When it was deeper than that. It was that ignition of fire, that the drive of wanting to help others that pushed them to that.
Right, yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, especially being a woman, like, beauty does matter to you more than it does to a guy, but, you know, to come out and actually, like, let everyone absorb, like, your disability and say, hey, like, wow, okay, you know, because you're trying, I'm sure there's an image thing where you're like, okay, I'm beautiful, but I also have a disability, or I have a disability and I'm also beautiful. And it's very powerful, but not a lot of people can come to that conclusion. A lot of people are really afraid to even admit that they have a disability or even feel that they're beautiful because they have one. It's like, it's hard for, you know, but you see it out there. There's a lot of girls that are really trying, and I see some girls that are kind of overdoing it. They're trying to sexualize it a little too much. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's very powerful to really still feel attractive when the world tries to make it. I mean, because there's these images of what is beautiful, and you know, regard. I mean, and
it's like on the TV shows where the disabled person's always the weird one, or the side comedic character, or the one that needs the makeover.
Right.
When you're more than that, you're beautiful the way you are. You're great. You can accomplish anything. It doesn't mean you're weird or to be an outcast, because you can be that main character. And I believe that there should be more representation of these people in a better light, because we are here and we matter.
Yeah. And that's, you know, as you were saying earlier, like, we have to, you know, there's a lot of people that are just sitting around and they're looking for inspiration, or they're just looking to just find a reason to continue to go on. And, you know, I do many of these, and there's plenty of times they may hear my voice and go, you know, yeah, he has a disability, he's been through a lot, but it's not my story. But then, you know, maybe just, you know, being you know, being a woman, or, you know, struggling with all the things you've struggled with, and they may hear your story and maybe take one part out of it and go, oh, I've been in a pageant and I've struggled with beauty and you know, self-esteem and all these things. And I resonate with that, and that you know, I know I'm not alone. And that's kind of the whole purpose of it, is just let people know, like, uncover all these little hidden gems that a lot of us are, where we're out here, we're struggling, we're fighting, we're far from perfect. And when I talk about mental health, I never, you know, I did an episode on it, and, you know, I say at the end of it, like, by no means am I done battling. Like, I will always probably have this. I have bad days where I'm, you know, I've had a couple recently where I was in a place where I was like, wow, I didn't think I'd get back here. But it's like, you know, and that's why you got to put, you know, I think it's good to put out how you're feeling and like the realistic emotions that you're going through, because I think a lot of us, you know, a lot of us who are really strong and are really putting ourselves out there to the world so they can be inspired and motivated also may
Yep,
look at
I'm
it.
always looking at, the social media, because you're seeing everything through a rose filter. You're only seeing the best of the best days, everything with a huge smile on your face, when in reality, that person could be going through hell.
Right.
And putting that out there covers that up. You're no longer going through something because everyone thinks you're having a great time. You're absolutely perfect and your life is perfect. And they start comparing that to their own and being like, I feel like a mess. When in reality, we are both messes and no one's life is perfect. There's no such thing as normal because every single person is going through it. They're having their own lives, their own hardships, their own roller coaster of battles.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that we show that there is an actual human and something more to that than just a smile in front of a beach.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that it frustrates me with all this cancel culture and all these different things that are going on, because people make, especially the ones that are getting in trouble for things they said 20 years ago or whatever. It's like, dude, like couldn't tell you how many things, if you took out of context or you took one of my text or something I said or whatever, that could be misconstrued as whatever. Like it could be, you could take it and just put me as whatever I am and just make it up. And the reality is we're human.
Exactly, yeah.
We all think horrible things. You know, when you're in your mental health status and you're and you're just pounding yourself in the head, you're thinking the worst of things, whether it's about yourself or other people. You see people happy and you don't want them to be happy because you're not, so you think bad things about them. Like, it's just people don't want to admit that because, God forbid, we're all perfect and just sweet inside, but that's not the case. We all have evilness in us, and circumstances make us go in certain directions. You go left, you go right, and if you go left, something could happen. You go right, something else could happen, and it's like you talk about some of the worst people on the planet. People always talk about Hitler. Well, they always said Hitler was very charitable. Yes, he was charitable to people who look like him, but he still had kindness in him. Yes, he had also hatred in him, but there's a lot of people who did good, that did horrible things. Abraham Lincoln helped free the slaves, but he also had slaves. Like people, it's not like everybody who has good in them also has bad in them. So can we just acknowledge that none of us are perfect? Like, regardless of what you believe in, you can believe in God and that he is perfect and all that, whatever you want. But if you don't believe in it, whatever, just humans on face value, well, none of us are perfect. We all have evil and goodness in us, and we just got to try to teeter it to the one side to where we stay on the good side. But, sometimes it's hard to be good.
Well, I feel like even the people who make the worst decisions make them out of believing that they are doing the right thing.
Yeah.
They may not realize the repercussions of that decision at the time, and it may hit them later on that, oh my God, I made the wrong choice, even though they didn't mean to.
Yeah.
Some people say things because they're just on a tangent and they're talking. And if you take some small piece of that information and use it against them, it's wrong because they didn't mean it in that light. And we can learn from that and try to watch what we're saying, but at the same time, asking someone to filter every single one of their beliefs is not okay, because to me, talking about my disability is uplifting and inspiring. To another person, me talking about it is insulting. And how dare I share this? But it's just my view. It's how my circumstances led up to this belief.
Right. Yeah. And like, to me, I'm always big on just being a good representative, but also, just putting out my real feelings. As I said, not just when I'm angry, or not just when I'm happy. When I'm sad or I'm angry, if I'm feeling that way and I'm doing an episode, I'll address it. Sometimes I'll do an episode just on my emotion. But like my family sometimes will say, like, sometimes you curse too much, which I really don't. But it's just that I'm cursing at all and people can hear it. And it's like, look, man, it comes from pain. Like my dark sense of humor, and just sometimes I don't want to say, oh shoot, like sometimes something just fucking bothers me. If people don't like the
mechanism.
Yeah, and it's just like, look, man, like, it's just look, I deal with my shit. Sometimes I just frustrated. Sometimes I'm angry. Sometimes I'm just really depressed, and it's just, you deal with your issues the way you deal with them, but you're not in my shoes and you haven't dealt with my life, and I'm just trying, like, there's a lot of pressure on being an advocate. I never knew what it was, but it's like, you got to really put a lot of time and effort into a community that's probably not going to support you until you really make a name of yourself. And, I feel like I got to, I don't want to just put out good messages because, it's kind of, it's just not right, because a lot of people will think like, oh, his life is just great. And that's not the case. I'm trying to give you a good view on what my life is like and what people I have on, what their lives are like. But, like I said, but it's just the pressure of trying to be a good advocate and be a good person in our community to show what we're capable of, because so many people are going to come at me for dumb shit that I say. And it is what it is. I'm gotten tougher skin at this point, but you got to just get to a point where you don't care.
Exactly. So everyone has their own opinions, and you can't necessarily change what another person's thinking. You can just change how you think about it yourself. Some person can look at me and say that because of what I've gone through, that I'm just a horrible person, and how dare I have spoken about it. But I can look at it as, you know what, I'm a good person despite what they say, and I've come a long way, and I'm proud of it. And I should be able to share that with other people and not care about what they think.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember one time.
Tough skin is something that you just have to grow into.
Yeah, I remember one time I was like just saying nice things. Like I said something good about myself. My mom was like, "Oh, you're just getting cocky today." And I'm like, the fact that I'm saying anything good about myself today, trust me, it's a good thing, because no one's harder on me than I am. I'm very hard on myself.
Exactly, and I feel like that's the same with every single person in the world. Your greatest critic is going to be yourself.
Yeah. And yeah, my inner demons have kicked my ass a lot of times, and it's just looking for something to feed off of. And you give it anything, give it a little inch, it'll take a mile. Like, you give it something to feed off of, it will. And all of a sudden I'm in a different headspace of, oh, see, I am ugly, or see, I am this. And it's like, doing the podcast, trying to find guests. For a while I was struggling to find new guests, even though I'm way ahead of, I got like 20 some in the tank just waiting to put out. But I'm always looking for new guests, and, there was a dry spot for a couple weeks, and now I'm sitting here saying, see, no one cares about me. Why does anyone care? Like, yeah, a few hundred people listen to me, but no one gives a shit. Like, no one, like, I'm trying to help a community that doesn't give a shit about me, and it's looking for every reason to just continue that narrative. And when you can't find guests, it's like, who are just like you, it's like, there you go. And so when I actually say something good about myself, shit, let's just run with it, because it's a good day.
Yes, and everyone has good days and bad days. Sometimes the lowest low comes right after a really good day, and you never know what the next day may bring. It could be a low, it could be a high, and you just need to take every day with a grain of salt, because you never know what the next day can bring. Every door shut may have another door open, or multiple doors and opportunities waiting to grow. For every no, there's going to be a yes.
Yeah. I also don't begrudge the people. Like, there's a lot of people in the disability community that get breaks and get lucky. Like, I know a few that have, their lives are pretty good. Everything went well for them, and nothing, they had a couple little, hiccups here and there in their lives, but overall, their life went really well. And I don't look at it like, oh, look at this person. No, good for them. Now, if they try to talk to me about how hard their life was in comparison to mine, I'll go, okay, back it up a little bit. But, that's not the case. They're just living decent lives, and nothing really went wrong for them. So it's like, I'm not going to begrudge that. Have fun. Live your life. Good for you. Be happy that you're not dealing with what I'm dealing with. If your disability is the only thing you have, and life went good for you, and you're doing well financially, and, good for you. Fuck, I can't take that from you.
Well, congratulations. I'm happy for you. That's an accomplishment all in itself, and you should be proud of that. You shouldn't have to hide it because someone else may not be having a great time.
Yeah, and, and I think we get to a point like that, we sometimes divide each other. I've seen people, visually impaired people, made fun of blind people when I was in school. It's are we shitting ourselves right now? You're only a couple, percentages or whatever you want to call it, you're a couple, down on the chart or up on the chart that you can see a little more than him. Whoop-de-doo, you're not better than him. Like, just be happy that you have sight. Anybody who has a disability and you make fun of another person with one, like, man, like, what? Because he has a learning disability and you are in a wheelchair. Like, there's nothing that's changed. We're all in this together. Well, again, like I said, divide and conquer has really worked on us because we're so all over the place and we're not at a place where we can just say, hey, like, I don't give a fuck what your disability is. They all look at us the same. So let's come together and then we'll show them that we're all different, but we're the same in some ways. And that some way is, strength and just enduring and all these qualities that most people can't buy and they don't have. And so it's like I said, that's why it's it's so important for people to speak up. If you don't, we're left in the dark constantly just going, why? Like, why is this happening? Well, we can change it.
Exactly.
Change.
All anyone needs is a little bit of hope.
Change has happened.
A smile on a bad day can change a person's entire mood just from a passerby.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of change. Like, you would have to, like, especially just for this country alone, like, you would really have to reconstruct the whole government and there's so much change that actually needs to happen. But
I've read so many laws because of studying law that you wouldn't believe the stuff that's hidden inside them.
Right.
And knowing how much is hidden and how much should be changed and how many things have changed throughout time that need to be amended that just don't. It's very confusing and hard to comprehend because you see everything changing so fast and you wonder why nothing else, like how certain things came to be and why haven't they been updated type of thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I mean, again, change has happened. Like, gay people are allowed to get married in this country. About time. Weed is almost legal. About time. I don't smoke it. I am not gay. But people should be able to do what the hell they want. Like, if you're not hurting people or animals and you're just living your life, and especially with weed, like, there's a lot of benefits and it helps a lot of people. So whether it's stress or, with all the CBD and all that, like, there's a lot of it
can stop seizures. I mean, that's really big for someone who goes through seizures and has to deal with that every single day.
Yeah. But if it just helps someone with stress, like, yeah, I don't think you should be able to smoke weed on the job, but you should be able to do it in your own household. Like, you should be able to do what you want. Like, we have all these restrictions, but again, we're getting to a point where that's, becoming more and more legal. Again, there's going to be a lot of jobs that are going to still say no. And if you get a bad piss test, well, you're going to be fired. We just had one at my other job where, we had a guy that was probably going to be a good fit for a driver, and he failed a drug test because he smoked weed, and he's not going to be working with us. So,
that goes through it too, because if you're doing something where it's really important that you have a clear mind, then you shouldn't be doing something to put yourself or anyone else at risk. So, I mean, you have to give and take. Yes, you should be able to have it in one setting, but in another, I can completely understand why you shouldn't. There's times where I need to take a muscle relaxant and it's going to really affect my body and my muscles are going to be looser than normal, but I'm in so much pain. And I know that if I take this, I can't do anything with heavy machinery. I can't drive myself to the doctor's office. I'm going to need someone there to help escort me to these different places. And I have to let that go so that I can help myself and not put anyone else in danger.
Right. Yeah, no, like I said, everything's complicated, but the point was there's a lot of change that has happened.
Yep.
Obviously slavery ended. Like, there's things that happen. Even just with all this, the Asian movement where, all the Asian hate and all that, even though that's been going on a long time, people are just finally taking notice to it because of a couple of viral videos. But, it took off. When it took off, it did, and people were pushing back against it. But you can make change. It's just, unfortunately, a lot of times when change usually comes from when people are angry. And it's like, why do we got to get to that point? Why can't we just want better for ourselves and want better for other people? It sounds hokey and it sounds just, like a romantic comedy type of shit. But it's like, no, man, like this, why can't we just want peace? Like we constantly, we're always so hypocritical of things. Like we praise our troops, but we shit on other governments for what they do when our government kills thousands of people all the time. I'm not saying that what they do isn't brave and it's not great that they defend us and all that. Yeah, but how many people have to die by our hands, and how is that right? We do a lot of shit.
There's two sides to every story.
Right. And it's I'm not going to condemn someone for what they do, and then just because what is it, how is it that we are always right? Like we're no, not just not just the United States, but why is our ways right from theirs? And again, I'm not saying it is or isn't. I feel it is in some ways, depending on the country we're talking about.
What you're talking about, yeah.
Right. But it's like, how is it that we're people? We came up with all these things, and there's so many rules and everything, and everything is corrupt. The reason why the planet is, if you believe in global warming and all that shit, like the reason why the planet is hot, that's our fault. The reason why animals die, species get wiped out, that's our fault. Like the reason why any of this shit happens is our fault. So, what's right and wrong? I don't know. Like who knows? But there's plenty of change that needs to be made, but it doesn't always have to be through war and rioting and all this shit. Like, it's just, why can't we just have real conversations with each other and not just with our fellow folks that look like us? Me only having conversations with white people about racial issues, or black people only talking about black people to black people about racial, like, why can't we just have black and white people in a room? We have a civil conversation. We talk. We listen to each other. We come to some understanding, and we go, boom. Okay, this is how we try to solve some shit. And goes with any issue. Just why can't we have some people with disabilities and people who are not talk to each other and figure some shit out? Why is everything is always about money and just who's got the bigger dick in the room? Like who's going to like it's all ego.
It's all a construct, and it's not truly of value. No. Money is only given as much value as we allow it to.
Yeah.
So to let it determine our lives is absolutely ridiculous when you think about it, because there's something more valuable in diplomacy and understanding each other and accepting each other. No matter what we're going through, and helping each other out is so much more valuable than a piece of paper.
Yeah. Yeah. When you look at, you just look at everything that happens around us. It's like, man, like there's so many more simple ways to do this. If we focus more on trying to preserve life and further our existence of just like, okay, now, because we're already doing that. We're living longer than, back in the day, if you made it to 45 or 50, it was like, holy shit. But now people are dying at 120. Very rarely, but people are doing it nonetheless. So why can't we just work on things like that and just try to, have better air and water and all these things? But no, we got to throw our shit in the ocean. Like,
yeah,
it's, I deal with like inventing, and I'm always, when we take the sodas out and they come in those little plastic things that like wrap around the bottles, the little circular things, they always say that they get caught in turtles and it kills them. So I just started to just pull those apart so that it doesn't kill turtles. Now, again, I love animals, so I'm a different person, I guess. But I think about that shit because it's like, man, like we're just killing all this sea life and just wilderness. Like we're just killing everything just because we're selfish and greedy. It's like, man, at the end of the day, if the planet does implode, guess what? We're going to be wiped out, and nature can have it. But that's why we have to kind of come together and try to save each other. But I don't know if that'll happen. But we can have hope.
It's great to have hope.
Yeah, you gotta have hope. So what are you doing with your time these days?
Well, I actually just applied for a coaching job to teach pageantry and interview and anything that goes along with it, especially when it comes to speaking, to girls of all ages to help them accomplish their goals. whether it be in pageantry, government, or wherever they want to use their experience to get through. And by doing that, I'm not only helping other people, but I'm helping myself as well, because every single time I help someone else, it gives me that little bit of hope that change is happening, that it can happen, and that there are people out there fighting for anything that needs to be fought for. And that just puts a smile on my face, because it brings me that hope that things can change and that there are good people out there in the world who are fighting for the good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's always good to find, like-minded people that are just trying to do some good. You're just out there, and it's just, what state do you live in?
I'm in Nebraska.
Okay, so I'm in Pennsylvania, and, the mask thing is going up and down, and, now that this new Delta virus is now going through, everyone's like reacting to that. And so now the masks are starting to come back more when, not too long ago, the masks were kind of gone, and you got people just bumping into each other, and it's like, oh, you're not wearing a mask, and oh, thank you for wearing a mask, and oh God, you're wearing a mask.
Yeah, I'm in the only state with the lowest the rates going down, so we don't really see a lot of the masks, and it's kind of up to each person depending on what they feel.
Yeah. But our mask mandate,
I know
is
how it is with traveling.
Yeah, we don't have to wear masks, but it's just people are now starting to wear them again, and it's just this constant argument of you seeing people like go into I feel a lot of these vending machines in these rest areas, and you'll see people won't even touch the door. It's like, I don't understand you. Like, are you afraid of everything? Like, Jesus Christ. And again,
I feel like those in our community understand that it's not necessarily the end of the world, because to us, we've been through so much already. And so another thing out there that's just causing us another problem is just kind of an everyday thing. We're like, oh, okay, well, that's a thing. I guess I'm just going to go along with my life like I always do, because there's no point in dwelling on something when I don't know how the turnout's going to come.
Yeah. And a lot of these people, especially these older people, all they do is sit around and watch the news. And the news is just feeding them with this bullshit propaganda of whatever. And I'm not saying don't get vaccinated or anything like that. But it's just, they're just every day, if Dr. Fauci gets on the mic and says, don't wear a mask at all, and then the next day he comes on and says, wear a mask, they'll just change it the next day because he said it. And it's like, can you just have your own, just think for yourself and figure out what you want. You want to be afraid every day.
For every good article that they talk about, there's going to be 20 bad. So you're just getting such biased information when it comes to whether it be good or bad. And when you're hearing nothing but this horrible thing happened versus this next horrible thing happened over and over again, it puts you in a bad state of mind of, wow, this world is awful and evil and nothing good happened.
Yeah.
And then that very rare time where they say, oh, hey, something good happened. You're like, oh, that's a shocker. But in reality, good things are happening all around you.
Right.
And you just don't hear about it.
Well, they love to throw around the numbers, too, because they obsess about it. It's like, because certain numbers hit you. You could say, oh, some, I don't know, 17 people.
Well, yeah, if I tell you 17 people had a virus versus 100,000 people survived and did good.
Right.
And are fine, you're going to listen to the number that is bigger.
Right.
And so if I tell you, 10 people fell down and got hurt versus a couple thousand people fell down and were perfectly fine, you're going to say, oh, hey, well, you know what, they fell down, but we're fine, versus, oh, well, if I tell you a percentage of 0.2% versus 99.8%, you're going to listen to the bigger number. And if you start focusing on the greater good versus all of the horrible, horrible things happening, you're going to have more hope. And focusing on the numbers, especially by dwelling on the big bad numbers,
right? Yeah,
you're just going to lose it.
Yeah, like when the rapper DMX died, I did an Instagram live, and I was like, look, I'm a fan of him, and it's sad that he's dead, but at the end of the day, addiction was so high from last year. No one's talking about how people are dying from addiction because he died from an overdose. And it's like no one was talking about the thousands of people that were dying last year from that, and it was skyrocketing. but we're talking about one celebrity. Like, we get stuck in this shit. So it's like, how many people died last year of COVID or of cancer? We know, whatever, 500,000 or whatever it was. And it's like, that's a number that sticks with you. But how many people died of cancer? How many people died of suicide? How many people died of a lot of things? But we're so focused on this one little thing that it's like, man, we're forgetting all the other shit that's around us.
Yeah, the domestic abuse rates went up.
Child
and they
abuse.
skyrocketed.
Yeah.
It was scary, and no one talked about it because it was this just thing that got shoved under the rug because it wasn't the main focus. And there are other things going on in the world that we need to be focusing on and we need to be fighting for, not just one thing. Because if you focus on the one thing and ignore the rest, you're going to cause more problems later on. Yeah. Especially when you're letting other people suffer because of a smaller number who are seemingly more important, when in reality, no person is more important than any other. Every single life out there means something.
Yeah. Like, people last year were reacting to the Michael Jackson documentary after he's been dead for 10 years or whatever he's been dead for. And it's like, yeah, but 2 million kids go missing a year. We're still focusing on the dead guy that did it or didn't do it, but we're not worried about the kids that are going missing right now. Like, hi, kitty cat. Like I said, we get so lost in, it's like, oh, well, R. Kelly's abusing women. Okay, he's abusing women. He's in jail right now, so he's not currently abusing women.
How do you help the people who are suffering now and will suffer in the future? Because I feel like a lot of us, when we're fighting for something, we're not thinking of the people who have fought for everything in the past, and you're looking at the people who have suffered in the past versus if you start fighting for the now and for the future, you're going to save hundreds of thousands of more people. And then all the other people who have suffered and been through all this stuff, if you just ignore every single person out there who could have the possibility of going through it, it's like they went through it for nothing. If I just lived my life and I just let every single thing hit me full on and I didn't fight for the next day and for the next person who may be going through it, I'd feel like I was doing it all for nothing. But because I keep fighting and keep arguing and keep pushing for change to help the people who may be suffering with me and in the future, I feel like I've been going through all of this for a reason. And if I didn't help in the fight, then I feel like I was suffering for no reason, and there'd be no reason for what I was even fighting to live for.
Right. Yeah, we just got to look at the bigger picture of things. Making an example of celebrities is not making an example of what people are going through, because, these celebrities got away with it forever. It's like Cosby drugs women. Like, it's not, he's been doing it for decades. And it's like, okay, but yeah, there's plenty of serial rapists and murderers out there.
Focusing on the one doesn't outweigh the few.
Take them off the street.
While it doesn't take away from the suffering that they've went through, you can also help the people who are suffering now and may suffer later. Yeah,
there's so much more we can do with our resources. It's just, the internet is a good tool for a lot of shit, but we tend to just use it for evil all the time. And there's so much there now. We have so much information about every damn thing. It's hard not to find things. Sometimes you find stuff on accident, like Googling something totally different.
Yep. End up down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, and there's so much great content, so much great people people did a lot of great things last year with COVID, just finding ways to cope with it, and just all this stuff they did from home, and just there's a lot of people that benefited. And like, there's just, like, people go after like Elon Musk for some of the things he says and whatever, but that guy's a damn genius. Like, he's trying to change the world literally by himself. I mean, he has help with his, workers and stuff, but like, he's flying to space, and, he's building underground, like, tunnels for cars and all. He's obviously has Tesla. Like, he's just, cars that drive themselves, which is like, people with visual impairment are like, oh my God, maybe we have a chance to drive now. Like, he's doing things that it's ridiculous the way his mind works, but that's one person. Like, if you took every mind and figured out how we all can contribute, it's kind of like with me with taxes. Like I always said, like, none of us contribute. Like, there's so many people, we just always go after the rich for what they contribute or lack of. But it's like, we want them to just give a bigger percentage because they make a bigger percentage. But it's like, there's so many people that don't pay anything. It's like, why can't we all just contribute
Exactly.
to this world that we live in? Let's all put in what we got to put in, and it could be a smaller percentage if we all do it. It's just,
I do a lot of fundraisers for a lot of different organizations, whether it be for childhood cancer or Ehlers danlos awareness or what be it. And whenever I'm at these organizations or a grocery store or wherever it be that I'm trying to raise money, I always say, it doesn't matter how much you give me, a penny does more than nothing. Give me a smile to give me a little bit of hope. Say, oh, I'll be back when I can, or this is what I can give now. I'm so sorry I don't have enough. And I'm like, you know what? What you're giving me now is more than enough, because if every other person gave me a penny too, I'd make a lot of money. If you
yeah,
can give me more, then give me more. Every little bit helps.
yeah, yeah. I mean, look, we're all a little selfish. That's fine. Sometimes you got to be selfish. Sometimes you got to take care of yourself, and we all got to make a little time for ourselves. But if we all just kind of contribute in some way, shape, or form, like, we can do so much more. But we're always about ourselves and our group.
Yep, I feel like if it doesn't affect us or someone we care about, sometimes we just push it to the side.
Yeah, exactly. What was I gonna say? Yeah. Do you have any kind of? I always like at the end, like, let the people that I have on just kind of give any kind of inspirational words. Like, do you have any, I don't know, advice for anybody who is just kind of, I don't know, struggling with their disability?
I would say don't let your disability be your downfall. Don't dwell on the bad. Look to the light, because every single person out there who may be going through something, it doesn't define you. While it is something that is part of you, you define who you are. You can accomplish anything, and being disabled does not mean you're unable, because despite your one or how many disabilities you have infinite abilities, and you can accomplish anything you set your mind to. While you may be limited when it comes to sight, or in my case, typing, I can find other things I'm great at and can accomplish it.
Yeah.
And for every single no, there is a million yeses, an infinite number of possibilities. So don't let anything bring you into the dark, because light is just around the corner.
Absolutely. Do you have anything to promote?
Um, well, right now, my mother and I are raising money for the Ehlers Danlos Society. We have multiple fundraisers we do throughout the year.
Okay.
And this is helping with research and helping people get any type of equipment they need, whether it be a stair lift or a wheelchair or medical assistance, just helping with hospital bills. And I'm also doing fundraisers with one of my close friends to help raise awareness and research funds for childhood cancer.
Okay. Yeah, send me some links. I'll put it on my social media.
Of course. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I hope you had fun. I'm glad you did this, and as I said off mic, we will definitely keep in touch.
Yep, I've had a great time.
Good. I know we ranted a lot, but for the good. For the good. Yeah, like I said, we'll definitely keep in touch and support each other. And like I said, thank you again for doing it.
Of course.
Yeah, you were really good, and like I said, I'll let you know when it all comes out. But like I said, just keep in touch, and like I said, we'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, I am sleepy. I'm sure you heard. I'm sure you hear the rain, constant rain. It's been off and on pouring today, so I don't know if it's relaxing. I don't know how it comes through. It just kind of it just sounds like noise to me, but because I have these Sony headphones that are noise canceling, so it's hard to hear it, like the full actual like sound. Yeah, I hear it like drizzling. Bullet made an appearance. I'm sure you heard him kind of he was yawning and stretching. He was beating you with his tail for a while. I don't know where he went, but he made a noise, so he made an appearance. That was his he charges me some treats, so that was his guest appearance, so I gotta pay him. Yeah, I hope you guys are all right. Like I said, I gotta get rid of this fucking headache. Ugh, it's starting to kill me. I had to take a shower. I just came home from work and just jumped into this. But she was really awesome. I really enjoy her, and I don't know. Like I said, I'm exhausted. I really need to just lay down and check out. Maybe the Yankees will sweep the Red Sox tonight. That'd be nice. Yes, I am a Yankees fan for those out there. Go team. Even though we've sucked for most of the year, and now we're actually relatively good. Made some trades, and that's great. So maybe we have a shot this year. I don't know. I'm not saying we do because our bullpen is terrible for those who know anything about baseball. But yeah, we don't need to talk about sports. Just seeing if there's any update. Oh, I have been feeling a little better mentally. I've been taking these multivitamins and just taking my medication, and so mentally I've been in a little better place, So we'll see what happens. Wish me luck. Pray for me. No, you don't have to pray for me, but just keep me in your thoughts. I hope everybody's doing well. Please like, comment, subscribe, share with anybody that you know it could help, or if there's anybody who wants to be on the podcast, please reach out to me. My Instagram again is at my blurred opinion. Or find me on Facebook. And I hope you guys are doing well again. I'm repeating myself as I always fucking do. So I will see you guys on the next one. We're already getting close to, whoa, what did I do there? There we go. I will, we're getting close to 90. We're getting closer and closer to 100 already. This is ridiculous. We're moving, man. 104 technically is the 2 years. So, but I don't know what I'm going to do for 100. I'm not going to do anything about it. It'll just be just an episode. I'll just say happy 100th. I don't know. I got to figure something out, but we still got a little ways. We're getting there. I got a bunch of guests coming down the pipe here. A lot of good guests that are coming up. So hope you all continue to support me. I appreciate you all so much. And I will see you guys next week. All right, guys. Bye.